Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Neil Pentland on the line, and he is co-founder of DecoNetwork. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam, and good morning from Australia.
All right, and we're going international here today on Mission Matters, interviewing out in Australia. So thank you for you waking up early, and we're doing a little bit of a later live than we normally do over here. But excited to connect with you, excited to have you on the show, and today's topic. So the passion of IT it all, or the passion of it all. So love the play on words, and we're definitely going to get into DecoNetwork, but just before we do that, let's start off with our Mission Matters Minute. So Neil, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Neil, what mission matters to you?
At the start of this journey, we had a vision about the IT, the print-to-wear industry. And part of that was that it was going to transform from a bricks and mortar to an online presence. Yeah. And so we started to work out what's needed and how we can help everyone in that journey and benefit for ourselves. But I've always lived into the win-win, win for us, win for our customers, and win for our customers' customers. So for me personally, it's been about research and development and the IT of it all, but as a business, it is very much focused on this industry, the print-to-wear industry. So that's our journey, that's our mission, as it were.
So the print-to-wear industry fascinates me. You've been in this business for a long time, so and we'll talk more about that and really the evolution of the industry and what you've seen. So lots of interesting stuff going on there. But before we do, let's start off with your background. So how did you get started really on this journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I'm the seventh son of a family that was born in Sydney. And with that, as I grew up, I was actually ended up with four of my brothers and my father. I was manager of a painting business going back in the early 70s. And I did the old sea change retirement thing and went up and bought a caravan park up in Queensland. And after living in the caravan park for a number of years, I realised that there was more to life. And at that time, believe it or not, there was no such thing as a personal computer, a PC. And
so for some of our younger viewers out there right now, they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. There was a time before this. All right, go ahead now.
Yeah. Well, I actually got an interest in it, and I used to play golf with a fellow from one of our, they call them TAFE, which is a local secondary schooling system. And we got together and started the first computer course in Maryborough in Queensland. And I was reading out of a book learning, and we were teaching in the day about the computers back then. It was very simple, but it covered the whole range of all things computers. And that led on to my understanding that it was going to make a huge difference to business. So I started consulting to small businesses and started computerizing small businesses. Then I found that to be my real passion and love in life. And so I moved back to the Gold Coast in about 1987. And I've been here ever since. And when the internet started, I was working computerizing a local pottery business. And he had a real problem in getting stock from Mexico. And the issue was that they'd run out of clay to make the different pots. And so by the time he ordered the pots and everything, he couldn't deliver. So we ended up taking photographs and getting them sent via the university in UCLA Mexican university, down to
Yeah.
Brisbane University. Before the wide web was all, it was just completely different technology, but we could actually get coloured photographs. Believe it or not, that was impossible before then. And so we could get the coloured photographs and he could do his business. So that, and he made a really good success of it. And that transitioned me to starting the first internet service on the Gold Coast.
Wow.
And at one stage there, we had quite a few internet services here on the Gold Coast that were all generated by our technology. And that led us on to our first bit of software, which was a website builder.
Yeah.
And we had a company at that time called Golden Orb Technologies. And Golden Orb is a spider that spins the strongest web. So I've sort of been, that's always been part of my life, because we called our technology Web Weaver. And then I led from that. We actually started back in 1996 to develop was going to be the very first online insurance system here in Australia. And we called that Insure It as well, insureit.com. But unfortunately, some tragedy happened, which we'll talk about later. And then we progressed from that to early in the 2000. We won all sorts of international awards for our technology. We created a thing called Picky Pimp. Picky Pimp was, it's very ho-hum today, but back then we were the first ones to actually have a designer that you could go online and create all sorts of pimped up images of your own face or your car or whatever you were going to pimp up. And then we created a thing called Comico, which you could turn that into comics. And yeah, it was very, very successful at the time. And we won Australian Media Awards for it. And then we progressed into this. We tried to figure out how we could monetize it. And we chose that, well, people spending so much time creating all these fabulous images, they'd want to print them on T-shirts. So we thought, well, we'll get into the print-to-wear industry. And we learned how to do that, to print. And so we started. And then we discovered that our passion wasn't in printing. Our passion was in the actual technology used in the printing. And so then we traveled from where we were going to do it all ourselves to where we provide a service to the industry now for all their business needs. That's from websites and the whole world. So that's the journey in a very straight line, as it were.
So, there's some people watching this that maybe they're a little bit, earlier in their journey. And what I noticed here, by the way, is that I know we kind of laughed at the, okay, the personal computer may not have been there, or like maybe some of the technologies have changed. But I'll tell for all the youngins watching this right now, one day when somebody's watching this or watching the day that you grew up in, it's going to be like, what? Your AI was that? What, couldn't even do this? That's all you were working with? Like, oh my gosh, how were you living there? Like, you still had phones back then? I heard about these things, cell phones. What? So don't laugh, because this is going to happen to you too. It's called the circle of life over here. All right. But one thing I do notice though, Neil, is that really you've been a pioneer this whole time. So some of the things that you've done in terms of, progression and again, having some of the first internet services businesses over there on the Gold Coast, and just multiple other things and multiple iterations that really pushed what was possible forward. So, there's some people out there watching this they're in that, they're again, maybe a little bit earlier in their career, but they're thinking, what can they do next? Or maybe they have this idea and they want to push it forward, whether it's, I don't know, in the NFT space, could be crypto space. I mean, there's all kinds of spaces that people are playing in nowadays. What kind of advice would you give to that newbie that's out there, kind of, trying to put their stake in the ground as an entrepreneur?
Well, whatever you choose to do, like it. Don't choose to do something to make money. Choose to do it because you actually enjoy doing it. If you've got a passion about it, it doesn't really matter. If And my greatest advice is this: don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, you'll never do it. Because it's like everybody that I've speak to have success. They've always thought it would take them a year,
Yeah.
and 10 years later, they just start to get that success. So if you understood that in too much detail before you started, you wouldn't start. So
So
be
true.
passionate, and you're only ready when you say you're ready. So if you live into that, the world is your oyster.
Oh man, you're speaking to my heart right now, Neil. I'm sitting here thinking about, oh, you always think it's going to happen faster than it does. 10 years later, it starts getting to go and it starts going, and everything that you said, I mean, you're speaking right to me. And if you would have known it was going to be that hard, would you have done it? I mean, ignorance to me is bliss on this one. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have done it. Are you kidding me? I would have stayed nice in my nice cushy corporate job if I would have known, right?
Yeah. The reality, though, is if you're going to work to earn money,
Yeah.
we all need to do that. That's the bottom line to us to survive.
Yes.
But the trick is, if you're going to work and you're enjoying it and you're being paid money, how good is that?
It's awesome. So I want to go further into DecoNetwork. So you mentioned that you're obviously the print-to-wear industry. I mean, you've been in this industry for quite some time now. Tell us a little bit more about the evolution and what you've seen from your vantage point.
So we've been intimately involved since 2007. So it's 14 years roughly. And what entices me every day is seeing the evolution of the industry coming from something where, like if you just think about how difficult it was to get something printed on a T-shirt, or even getting any screen printing done, go back 15 years ago, and it
Yeah.
was a real trial and tribulation. Today, you go online and within a very short period of time, you've created something, and somebody somewhere in the world's going to print it for you. Well, that's the biggest evolution. So we've seen everything just go from bricks and mortar
Yeah.
to an actually online business. And to me, what's come along with that, the underlying technologies that have needed to be created to accommodate everybody's expectations, that to me has been the journey. That to me has been where my passion's been about. I talk to a lot of printers and I'm astounded at their skills. They so far surpass what I thought was needed to be successful printing stuff and embroidering stuff and doing all that and etching and doing all the different decorations of product. And
Yeah.
meeting people have that passion for what they do. It inspires me on a daily basis. And I know that by me being in business with them, we're win-winning, because it is just such a journey, and it's really only still just started, even though
Yeah.
it's been as it is.
So Neil, I want to switch it up a bit. So I want to change gears a bit here. So, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as executives, I mean, experts out there watching this, I mean, we all face different types of adversity. I mean, curveballs that come out of nowhere for us. Like things happen that aren't always within our control. I mean, for example, COVID right now. I mean, we're recording this for context in November of 2021, couple days before Thanksgiving or so. And so in your life, I mean, here you go. I mean, you're a pioneer in your industry. You're definitely in your city, and really just whether it's print to wear, some of the other businesses you've done prior to that, like all these things were just leading up to, innovation after innovation. And then things got a little bit sidetracked or even derailed. I mean, you had something happen. So that came out of nowhere, I'd say. So tell us a little bit more about that story, and let's start there.
Yes, Adam, like we all think that our life is sort of, going along okay. And then one day I got a knock on the door very early in the morning, and I got charged with a murder of something that happened 20 years ago. It was a cold case murder. 20 years ago, well, it's 23 years ago now, nearly 24 years ago, I had a person working for me. His name was Philip Carlisle.
Yeah.
And we would, as I was sort of alluded to when I started, we were trying to create the first insurance product to buy insurance online. It was called Insure It. And Philip was going to be our marketing guy.
Yeah.
And one morning, it was a Sunday morning, we went to work. I left, and within a matter of 4 hours, he was dead. Somebody had murdered him, shot him 4 times. And I was, just so left ballpark that you couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
You can't imagine at the time my whole business was devastated, and we were a long time to recover from that. And then 20 years after that event, I got a knock on the door and I was arrested for the murder. And things that I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I just, it was just so far beyond my understanding. So I ended up being charged and put on remand in prison for 17 months. And that was one of the unbelievable times. And I got to understand about our legal system here in Australia, how it's designed to get convictions, and the police play is to put the intended victim into prison so you can't defend yourself. And in order to do that, I went and tried to get bail initially, had no understanding of legal system, so I chose the wrong legal people to represent me. And as a consequence, I didn't get bail. 17 months later, I was in Prince Alfred Hospital, nearly dead because of the neglect of the health system in the prisons. And I got bail through change of circumstance of the fact that I wasn't going to make it through the system. I was very close to death. My wife and 3 sons actually were told to come and visit me in the hospital because I wasn't going to be there for too much longer. And once I got out on remand into bail, I then was able to do the proper research into what had really happened. And I discovered that this Philip Carlisle that was murdered all those years ago was, he was a lovable rogue. He could sell ice to an Eskimo. You couldn't help but like the man.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he was a rip-off merchant, and he'd ripped off so many people. Literally on police-owned records, and I got the files to the matter, there was literally 40 people that had threatened his life, and he was dealing with people that killed you. And one of them did, unfortunately. And it was a tragedy that a person that had such a great personality did what he did. And unfortunately, he was a very bad gambler. So whether it was a bookie, because in Australia at the time we had, they called SP bookies, which would allow you to bet on credit, whether it was one of those, or whether it was one of the people that he frauded of many millions of dollars.
Wow.
And he used to even carry a gun, and in Australia we don't carry guns. So he was, he sort of knew that things were in trouble. And as a result of that, I've written a book about it, and I've called it, it was called Operation CARYE, because that was the name the police gave to this case. And I've called it Operation CARYE, Trials and Tribulations. And it's been published and it's available on Amazon. And if you go there and if you can't remember that, just remember my name and put author, and you'll find the book. But within the book, I tell about my experiences in prison. It was so devastating for me personally.
Wow.
I discovered that I was a racist, and I was completely oblivious to the fact. But once I got in there and I saw all the things which are happening, and that 40% of the prisoners in Australia are ethnic, and ethnics in Australia only make up 3%. So it's appalling. and the way they treat you is appalling. But there's some stories that are very interesting to listen to. They're hard to endure when it's happening to you, but in the telling of them, there's some interesting things to know about our legal system. And then part of the story too was about our legal system and what is entailed in that. Luckily, because of COVID, we had a judge-only trial, and I'm so fortunate that it was a judge-only trial, because there was something like, I think there was 140 different documents which were presented at the trial. And can you imagine a jury trying to read 140 different documents? I mean, it would have been just so difficult. But luckily, it was a judge-only trial, and the prosecution had 11 points that they pointed to me being the guilty person, and the judge refuted not one, not two. He refuted the whole 11 points. Normally in Australia, you get found not guilty, and not guilty doesn't mean innocent. It means not proven at this time. Whereas they put up 11 and they got struck out 11 times. So I think that goes beyond not proven at this time. So, but the reality is this could happen to me. I was CEO of an IT company at the time. Can literally happen to anyone. And I had no understanding that somebody thought I was a murderer. It just didn't enter my imagination, because, but unfortunately, innocence is not a defense. and like, it's just our world. I suppose. I'm not, that's just is.
So here you are. I mean, just to recap part of this. So you're running company, you're a CEO of your IT company, and you get a knock on the door, and all of a sudden your entire life's uprooted for something that happened 20 years ago that you didn't necessarily have a connection to. Not just doing obviously the crime, but like, it's 20 years ago and you didn't. I mean, obviously, as you just mentioned, 11 out of 11 things refuted. So pretty thin case, I'd say, they had on you, just in general off of that. And now here you are, like, how was the community around you at this time? I can't imagine that business was good and people were looking the other way. I feel like this would have been in the news. This would have been everywhere, right? Because you were a esteemed person in the community.
Well, that's the saddest thing of it all. Like, before this, I was quite proud of my reputation. If you put in Neil Pentland into Google, you would get all these things. I was part of the first IT trade mission over to the US from Queensland. I was sort of, I was known for the IT forum here on the Gold Coast. I was actually president of the IT forum for a number of years. I was secretary of Software Queensland, which was quite a big play, and I was on boards of universities on their IT boards. But after this, all you could get was being arrested for a murderer. And I'm so thankful that my oldest son Adam stepped into the breach, because I just don't know how he's even got us through it, because there was obviously toxic. We missed out on a lot of opportunities which were coming into play at the time, and I don't blame our people we were partnering with, not partnering, that we were providing services to, particularly the big vendors, and that, we were about to do some really good business together, and they withdrew from it. And I don't blame them one iota. I would have withdrawn from somebody that the companies could have been founded by a murderer. It's not something that you would want to be involved with. So it really devastated us. And I'm so proud of my family, the way that, and our board, we've got a pretty good board, and the way they were able to travel through this, and we survived. Now, we're not quite back to where we were when this happened nearly 4 years ago, but we're pretty close to where we were back then. And I do think that it's no longer the be all and end all of everything. And I do think that now that's no longer a barrier to us.
Yeah. So you decide what an experience, and I'm glad that you wrote a book about it. The one to document what took place, to tell your story, and also so that others can gain inspiration from this. Because I mean that's why I'm a big reader, always been a reader. Everybody that's been watching this show for a long time, they know I love books and I love talking about books. And we will definitely have a link to your book down in the show notes so that our viewers and our listeners can go pick up a copy, because I definitely want them to do that. But just to give us a little bit of a flavor of the book, like what are some of the takeaways that you hope people get, like the readers get out of the book?
We have no vision of what
Mhm.
the legal system actually is. You think if you go to prison, well, if you get arrested and go to
Mhm.
prison, you will, and you're found innocent, you'll get recompense for the problems that have been caused to you. That's a
Mhm.
joke. I lost my home. I
Yeah.
lost all my savings. I had to invest everything that I personally owned into my defence,
Mm.
and I never even got an apology from the police. And the
Wow.
government doesn't give you a penny. So that is possibly the biggest takeaway is
Wow.
that as a fact of life. But
Mhm.
when I went inside, I got to meet people that I would have never actually spoken to ever.
Mm.
They're just not in the circle of people that I mingled with. And
Yeah.
I discovered that most people's lives, uh, it's our journeys have been down so many paths
Hmm.
that I never realized that I was so privileged.
Yeah.
Like I'm come from a family,
Hmm.
white Caucasian family that would you'd call middle class to some degree,
Hmm.
and I was just unaware of all the problems
Mm.
on on a daily basis of people in Struggle Street, and particularly our ethnic population.
Mm.
And once I was in there, I've discovered there that if they took drugs from being a crime in Australia and made it a medical problem,
Hmm.
we would our prisons would be 90% empty,
Wow.
because 90% of people in there, everyone, virtually everyone in there is doing drugs, but
Mm.
90% of the problem is do recreational drugs, and then one thing leads to another, and they end up doing crime to pay for their drugs, etc., etc., etc. So it's just a treadmill that is so difficult for them to get off.
Mm.
That said, I met some interesting characters in this thing. So in my book, I tell some stories about some people that I think you will find interesting. But
Mm.
the biggest takeaway I've had from the whole lot is at one stage there, I tried to keep fit, and
Mhm.
this is before I really got sick. And
Mhm.
I used to walk around, and I used to imagine that I was walking on a beach. And I walked with another couple of characters,
Mhm.
and did that. And we talked as we went along.
Mhm.
When I got out and I was walking along the beach, I really count my blessings. I now
Wow.
understand there that there's so many things in life that we enjoy and
Mm.
we just take for granted. We don't even slightly consider how fantastic they are. So that's my biggest take out of it.
Oh man, talk about leading with gratitude, right? You have almost it all taken away from you, including your life, right? And you're to where the fact you're in a hospital at this point, and they're having your family come visit, and now to obviously to have your freedom again, to be able to walk on the beach. Talk about really being rooted in gratitude there, and counting the blessings. I mean, it's an amazing story.
Well, what I find really fabulous,
Hmm.
and doing this with you made me revisit our technology that we've created.
Yeah.
And I've gone through and looked at our website again and
Hmm.
gone over things. And I realized there that what we've created, I've been looking at the forest and I forgot that it's made up of all the trees. Uh, One of the challenges that our chairman put to us, it had to be simple. He told me when we created this, we
Hmm.
kept on getting people cancelling out because it was too complex.
Hmm.
Um, and, you know, we run their entire business. So most businesses are complex, even if they're simple. And he said we had to make it as simple as Google.
Mm-hmm.
Well, within our system, believe it or not, you can put in any detail about any order or any customer if you're one of our licensees, and you can bring up everything about that customer, about that order, about anything. And so we created that search within our technology so that when the customer's on the line, they immediately get response back from whoever's answering the phone to them. It doesn't take any time at all. And I don't know whether you know small businesses, but most small businesses, if you've done a business with them 3 months ago and you ring up and you want to reorder or do something,
Yeah.
it's not an instant thing. They've got to look up everything, whereas ours, they can look it up immediately. And things like that, like I'm just so proud of. And the fact of the scheduling of their business, we work it all out for them. So they only put in the details. We do all the quoting and all the different aspects of their systems. Right from we've got a designer on the DecoNetwork, and believe it or not, you can put an image in that designer, and if it's going to a screen printer and the screen printer only does 4 colors, it'll actually take that multicolored image and bring it back to those 4 colors, so as that after you've sent it, designed it online, the screen printer will actually get a breakdown of what he's got to print in the 4 colors. You know,
Wow.
it's just the technology. It's all pervasive, and it is so. I feel so proud of it. I feel so proud of our team that we've got from it. But to me, that makes life worth living.
So Neil, you mentioned, prior to everything that happened, that you were working on, deals and looking at relationships and partnerships within the industry, both locally and globally, to expand. Are you still doing that now? Like give us a little bit more of a flavor for what you're doing for expansion and the types of relationships you're looking for.
Okay, yeah, that's one of our greatest disappointments. In our industry, there are vendors. Vendors are the people that sell the blank products to the printers, the embroiderers and everything, and they decorate them. We see that if we're going to be ubiquitous throughout the industry, if we could make a really good, solid relationship with a number of vendors, we would really grow our business exponentially. Unfortunately, the vendors have made choices. We deal with all the vendors, and indeed we have catalogs in our system that lists all their products. I think we've got 17,000 products, and we keep them updated from the vendors, so as that if one of our licensees comes in, they automatically get all this updated information that can be presented online. The images for their websites, it's all created automatically for them in the background. But we've never really got into bed with the vendors insofar as that they all promote our business and we're promoting their business.
Yeah,
that's been a disappointment to me. We've wanted to provide them services above and beyond, because, as I said, technology is our passion. So that's been sort of a frustration to us. We do go to trade shows quite a bit. As a matter of fact, in your hometown, our biggest trade show is in January, which is the print-to-wear industry trade show down at Long Beach. And that is a fabulous way for our team to meet our potential customers and our existing customers. So that's been one of our biggest go-forwards. We're continually growing our service that we offer our customers by the technology, because we integrate to accounting systems. I think about 4 or 5 different accounting systems. We also do a huge amount of accounting the system ourselves. You can automatically do quotes and invoices and a whole world of stuff, but we integrate to the accounting system so they can, at the end of the year, press a button and get all their tax stuff done. But we're continually doing stuff like that. We're in the throes where right now we're going to be integrating to a number of the payment systems that are much more advanced to when they were years ago to make the life of our licensees easier and for their customers easier again. So these sorts of advancements, like one of the things which I'm frustrated with is that we've got a barcode system so as that when an order comes in, you can produce an order, it gets a barcode. When a system comes in, you've got the barcode there, you can scan it and it'll automatically do a million things in the background for you. And yet our customers, I know because I can see who's using what within our service. Less than 5% of our customers are actually using it. And I know it will save them tons and tons and tons of time. But I get frustrated with myself with my inability to communicate all the different things within our system that will benefit our licensees. Still, it's good that we're getting better and better and better support services which are interacting with them to explain these things to them.
Well, Neil, I just have to say, what a great story. I mean, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background. I mean, the business, of course. I mean, your amazing family that's been supportive, not only in the business, but on the personal side. When you're kind of derailed from the original plan, you get that random knock at the door. I mean, geez, what a story overall. That being said, if somebody is watching this and they want to connect with DecoNetwork and to connect with you and your team, I mean, and what's the best way for them to do that?
The absolute best way is just to go online to DecoNetwork.com and it's all there. They'll see we offer them to communicate with us in any manner that they want to. And just talking about that, we are our head office in the USA is in Atlanta. That's where we employ most of our workers are actually in the US of A. And we do have a small office in where you are in LA, but in Swanee in Atlanta is where our head office in the US is. And we are right at the moment looking for going to be employing a business development manager to hopefully overcome our shortcomings when it's engaging with our vendors and machine manufacturers. So that's our future. But if anybody is a screen printer or has anything to do, if you want a print to wear industry is a fabulous industry to be in. If you want to know about anything about it, if you come on to our website, and then within our website, we link to so many different resources in the industry that if you're just starting out, I can tell stories about people that have started out literally in their garages. And there's one Australian here that I know quite intimately. He was 17. He started out. By the time he was 21, he was at a multi-million-dollar business, all using our technology.
Wow.
And it's absolutely possible there that you can learn everything that you need to know about the industry just by visiting our website and reading the stories.
Amazing story. And we'll put of course the website in the show notes, and also the link to your book. We definitely want people to pick that up. So Neil, and also if I believe you said you were hiring. So again, the website, all of that stuff will be in the show notes for people to check out. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time watching the show or listening to it, if you're listening to our podcast, at Mission Matters, we're here to really amplify stories that we feel need to be heard. Whether you're business owners, entrepreneurs, experts, like we want to tell stories that need to be told. If you're into that, then definitely hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based entrepreneurs coming up, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Neil, really, it has been a pleasure. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Adam. And can I just give a plug for yourself? I've been on it. I was coming on, went and had a look in your podcasts there, and I got many, many really good things out of it. So I can highly recommend that people go and have a look. If you've got a passion, you've covered it.